The dazzling lights of the international runway once exploded in brilliance when a slender silhouette emerged, Izabel Goulart. With endless legs, a sculpted face, and eyes that burned through every camera lens, she became one of Victoria's Secret's most captivating angels. The image of Izabel donning massive wings, striding with fierce pride across the stage, etched itself into the memory of millions. Yet behind the applause and the glossy magazine covers lay a story far more complex, filled with shadows often hidden from the public eye. Imagine this: the music thunders, spotlights blaze, and the arena erupts as Izabel steps out. She radiates such confidence that people believe she was born to conquer the world. But backstage, few knew she had once endured cruel taunts at school for being too skinny, or that she had wrestled with moments of self-doubt so deep she considered abandoning her dream. The very traits that once made her a target of mockery would later transform her into a global icon. Izabel's journey unfolds like a cinematic tale, beginning with brilliance, twisted with unexpected turns. Her story invites us to look beyond the glittering feathers and shimmering lingerie to confront the darker truths lurking beneath the relentless pressure, the unspoken pain, and the resilience that defined her. Was Izabel merely a fleeting angel who shimmered and vanished, or did she leave an indelible mark on fashion history, alongside the legendary 90s Supermodels? To uncover the answer, we must follow her path, step by step, into the dazzling world of glamour and into the dark side of fashion. Izabel Goulart was born on the 23rd of October, 1984, in São Carlos, a small town in the Brazilian state of São Paulo. It was not a place of glamorous skyscrapers or glittering catwalks, but of dusty streets, bustling markets, and modest houses crammed together. The Goulart family lived simply, raising 6 children in a crowded but loving home. Her parents worked tirelessly, scraping by to provide for the family, teaching their children resilience and humility. From an early age, Izabel stood out physically. While her classmates remained small and childlike, she shot up in height, her spindly legs making her appear awkward and out of place. What should have been seen as a gift was instead met with ridicule. At school, children nicknamed her giraffe, giraffe. The mocking laughter followed her everywhere, carving into her young heart a deep sense of insecurity. Many nights, she would cry quietly beneath her blanket, asking why she had to be so different. Yet in that pain, a spark began to grow. Izabel realized that her body was unique. Perhaps the world around her was too small to understand it. After school, she would spend hours in front of the mirror, mimicking the gestures of Brazilian movie stars on television. In her reflection, she saw not just the awkward girl teased by classmates, but the outline of a confident woman waiting to be revealed. Her family had no ties to the arts, let alone fashion. For her parents, the dream was practical: study hard, get a steady job, and contribute to the household. For a time, Izabel imagined that future working in an office, leading a quiet life, but deep inside, her heart beat to a different rhythm. It whispered of escape, of possibility, of breaking the limits of her small town. Her childhood was not only marked by hardship, there were moments of warmth too. She and her siblings played soccer outside, their laughter echoing through the neighborhood. Each time Izabel fell, she learned to rise, brushing the dirt off and running again. These simple lessons built the foundation of resilience that would later carry her through the ruthless fashion industry. The person who left the greatest mark on Izabel was her mother. Whenever her daughter appeared downcast, she would gently remind her, "Never let others decide who you are. Let your heart be your compass." Those words etched themselves into Izabel's memory, becoming the guiding principle of her life. Izabel grew up caught between two extremes: the sting of mockery and the embrace of unconditional love. This tension created a unique personality, fragile yet strong, vulnerable yet fiercely determined. Out of this contradiction, a seed quietly took root. That seed would one day blossom into a woman whose presence on the runway was not just about beauty, but about courage. Looking back, it seems inevitable. The girl once dismissed as a giraffe was destined to transform. She would turn childhood scars into stepping stones and insecurity into the fuel of ambition. And it was from that unlikely soil, between ridicule and hope, that a future icon of fashion, standing shoulder to shoulder with the 90-second supermodels, first began to grow. Opportunities often arrive in the most unexpected ways. For Izabel Goulart, destiny came one ordinary afternoon. She was only 14, walking with a friend to buy bread, when a fashion professional noticed her. The man stared for a moment before saying softly, "You have the face and figure of a model. Have you ever thought about trying?" At first, it sounded like a joke, but those words would prove to be the turning point of her life. Izabel laughed nervously. Modeling seemed like an unreachable dream for a girl from a small town with no money, no connections, and even less confidence. Yet the steady conviction in the stranger's eyes made her reconsider. Perhaps the very traits that had made her the subject of mockery, her towering height, her thin frame, were actually the keys to another world. Her parents, however, were not easily convinced. They feared that fashion was a dangerous realm filled with temptations where young girls could easily be exploited. "You need to study, get a secure job. Fashion is not a safe path," her mother warned. But for the first time in her life, Izabel argued back, her voice firm. "Mom, if I don't try, I will regret it forever." Her first casting was a trial by fire. She was so nervous she could barely walk in a straight line. Her hands trembled, her heart pounded, and the scrutinizing eyes of the panel made her want to run away. But she remembered her mother's words, "Let your heart lead the way." Summoning courage, she stepped forward, awkward but determined. That sincerity struck a chord with one photographer, who invited her to a test shoot. The first photos of Izabel were far from perfect. Her face still carried the innocence of youth, her poses lacked polish, but her deep dark eyes and endless legs captured the attention of the team. They saw something raw, something unrefined but filled with promise. Determined to improve, Izabel spent hours practicing. She stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing her walk, her smile, her gaze. Each rejection stung, sending her home with red eyes. But she never once considered quitting. The dream had already planted itself too deeply in her soul. Finally, her persistence was rewarded. A modeling agency in São Paulo offered her a contract, marking her official entry into the professional world. It was the moment she realized her life would never be the same. No longer the awkward giraffe mocked in school, Izabel had stepped into a new identity, a model in the making, a girl who dared to transform pain into strength. It was only the beginning. The industry was unforgiving, but Izabel had crossed the threshold. She had proven to herself and to those who doubted her that dreams were not reserved for the privileged few. They belonged to those bold enough to reach for them, and Izabel Goulart, on the cusp of a new chapter, was ready to rise. Once her first contract was signed, Izabel Goulart was thrust into the unforgiving orbit of fashion. Within just a few short years, the skinny girl from a provincial town was transformed into one of Brazil's most promising exports. By 2005, at only 21, she achieved the dream of every young model, stepping onto the glittering runway of the Victoria's Secret fashion show. The moment felt like an explosion. Spotlights illuminated her, music thundered, and Izabel walked with intoxicating allure. She wore her first pair of angel wings, and from that instant, her name became forever linked to Victoria's Secret. The press hailed her as Brazil's new angel, a seductive successor to legends like Gisele Bündchen and Adriana Lima. But Victoria's Secret was only the beginning. Izabel soon became a regular on the world's most prestigious runways. Chanel, Balmain, Givenchy, Dolce, and Gabbana. She conquered them all, with her fearless stride and magnetic presence. Each appearance radiated a unique intensity, her steps sharp and commanding, her gaze icy, her lips curving into a subtle smile. Together, these elements formed a kind of spell. Photographers claimed Izabel had the rare ability to bend light. With a simple tilt of her head or arch of her brow, she could transform a photograph into something electric. Her mastery of presence landed her countless covers, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Elle, and cemented her status as an international star. Her career also connected her with the powerful elite of fashion. Designers, photographers, fellow models. Izabel was welcomed into an exclusive circle. Yet what endeared her most was not her beauty alone, but her radiant spirit. On the runway, she was the goddess of seduction. Offstage, she was warm, funny, approachable. She exuded positivity, turning colleagues into friends and strangers into admirers. Every model is remembered for something distinct. Giselle had her wave-like walk, Adriana her hypnotic stare. Izabel carved her mark with fiery confidence, her strut less a movement than a declaration, "I am here to conquer." It was that intensity which made her unforgettable. At the height of her career, Izabel embodied the paradox of the supermodel, adored by millions, scrutinized by all, and yet somehow untouchable. From Paris to New York, Milan to Tokyo, her name guaranteed excitement. Her presence could electrify an entire show. And amidst the legendary 90-second supermodels who defined fashion's golden era, Izabel found her place as the next wave, living proof that Brazil's dominance on the runway was far from over. She was more than a beautiful face. She was a force, a performer who turned each show into art. In an industry crowded with fleeting stars, Izabel stood apart, reminding the world that modeling was not just about wearing clothes. It was about storytelling, about commanding a stage with nothing but a glance and a stride. And in that arena, Izabel Goulart reigned supreme. In a world where beauty is often confined by ruthless standards, Izabel Goulart proved that difference itself could be the strongest weapon. She did not walk the runway like a lifeless mannequin. Instead, she used her very life story to inspire millions. Unlike many supermodels who stayed silent under pressure, Izabel dared to speak. She openly shared that her younger brother lived with type 1 diabetes. Instead of hiding this, she turned it into a mission. Izabel became a spokesperson for campaigns to raise awareness about the disease, using her fame to amplify voices rarely heard. For her, the runway was not just a stage for glamorous gowns, it was a platform for humanity. She was also one of the pioneers in challenging body stereotypes. When critics labeled her too skinny, she did not shy away but answered firmly, "This is my natural body. I care for it through training and nutrition, not to please anyone else." That honesty made her a role model for countless young women who had once felt inadequate for not fitting into rigid ideals of beauty. Throughout her career, Izabel faced tempting offers. She was approached to pose for overly exploitative shoots or to promote controversial products. Each time, she refused. For her, no contract was worth compromising integrity. "I want to be remembered as a model with style and principles, not as a commodity," she declared in one interview. What truly distinguished Izabel was her refusal to be confined to the label of lingerie angel. Though Victoria's Secret had elevated her to stardom, she ensured her legacy extended beyond it. She explored acting, high-profile advertising, and philanthropy. By diversifying her career, she proved she was not bound to one brand, one standard, or one fleeting trend. Izabel Goulart was different because she dared to be herself. She never took the easy path, but the path her heart recognized as right. To her audience, she was not simply a model with a flawless figure, she was a warrior, a woman who transformed scars into strength, who faced the dark side of fashion and emerged with dignity intact. And that is why, long after other faces have faded from memory, Izabel remains. She is remembered not merely as a Victoria's Secret angel, but as a voice of defiance, a symbol of freedom, and a testament to female pride. Her legacy is not about being perfect. It is about being unafraid to stand alone, to fight for authenticity in a world built on illusions. And in that fight, Izabel became more than a model. She became an icon. At the height of fame, shadows often grow quietly behind the lights. For Izabel Goulart, the dazzling glow of international stardom came with an invisible weight pressing on her slender shoulders. The world saw her radiant on the runway, but few witnessed the nights she collapsed from exhaustion after endless workouts, or the mornings when she skipped meals to maintain the perfect figure demanded by the industry. The media could be even harsher than the catwalk. Izabel often found herself the subject of rumors. One European tabloid once claimed she suffered from an eating disorder, using unflattering photos of her thin frame as evidence. The story spread quickly, fueling a storm of criticism. It hurt deeply, but Izabel chose silence, trusting that time would reveal the truth. "No one knows my body better than I do," she later said. Still, the whispers left scars that lingered long after the headlines faded. Her private life was also dragged into the spotlight. Relationships with famous athletes and whispers of romances with wealthy businessmen made her a constant target of gossip. To some, Izabel was no longer a model but a spectacle, reduced to entertainment fodder. The relentless scrutiny forced her to retreat, drawing tighter boundaries between herself and the public. But the most profound upheaval came with the shifting tides of fashion. By the late 2010s, the once mighty empire of Victoria's Secret began to collapse. The iconic show that had launched Izabel into legend was suddenly gone, taking with it the wings that had defined an era. For Izabel, the question loomed. Without the wings, who was she? There was a period when Izabel nearly vanished from public view. Her appearances on runways grew rare, her magazine features dwindled. Fans speculated, some worried, others declared her career finished. On Instagram, she posted only fragments of ordinary life far removed from the spectacle of her past. It was a silence, a pause, and perhaps a reckoning. Yet in that quiet absence, a new Izabel emerged. No longer the young girl desperate to prove herself, she became a woman learning to live at her own pace. The fall was not an ending but a transformation. The mistakes, the disappearances, the bruises of public scrutiny, they became chapters in a different story, one written not for the world but for herself. Glory fades, but the cracks in the soul remain. For Izabel, the hardest battle was not against critics or competitors, but against loneliness, the invisible darkness that accompanied fame. It was here, in the confrontation with silence, that she faced the true dark side of fashion, the price of beauty, the cost of being extraordinary. And yet, even in retreat, Izabel's essence endured. She had not vanished. She had only stepped into another realm, away from the blinding glare, seeking the light within. Izabel Goulart may no longer dominate the world's grand runways as she once did, but the legacy she leaves behind reaches far beyond glittering angel wings. Her story is not just the tale of a poor girl mocked for her body who became a global symbol of allure. It is living proof of the power of resilience and unyielding will. What makes Izabel an icon is not the number of magazine covers she graced or the luxury houses she represented. It is her attitude toward life. She dared to confront prejudice, refused offers that compromised her values, and boldly used her fame to amplify causes greater than herself. For millions, especially young women who struggled with body image, Izabel became a reminder that difference is not a burden, it is strength. Looking back, one sees more than a supermodel. One sees a woman who turned pain into light, who stood firm against the tides of conformity. The question remains, in today's fashion world dominated by social media and virtual influencers, would there still be space for a figure like Izabel? Or will she remain a luminous memory of a time when the runway was still an art form, when models embodied both mystery and defiance. Perhaps Izabel Goulart never truly disappeared. She simply chose to exist on a higher plane, quieter, yet no less radiant. Her journey, alongside the legends of the 90-second supermodels, reminds us that beauty is fleeting, but courage leaves a permanent mark.